massive lobsters, loads of bass in the shallows, stacks of pollock, and a good one at the end of the session. We had an absolutely superb day at one of the most remote beaches on the Isle of Anglesey. A full 90-minute walk in from the road. I doubt anyone's speared this place before. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and you'll see plenty more content like this. Drop me a comment, let me know what you think of the video. Now, the reefs we fished were stuff like this, and they look really innocuous, but the terrain is absolutely perfect. Shallow sand beds, loads of kelp, big boulders, and ideally for stalking bass in this kind of ground you want something between 1 and 2 meters of water at low tide. We're going to go through some of the clips now. There weren't massive numbers of bait fish around. I don't think this matters too much when you're stalking bass. We'll just look at a typical clip here. There is a very large bass under some of this kelp. You might see it. That's not the one there. You might see it a little bit. And I'm just watching this big bass swim through the kelp. I don't know if you can see it in the video or not. There you go. You just saw it just there. If you rewind 5 seconds, you'll see it again. And I'm trying to get a shot on this very, very good fish. And I see a bass head poking out the kelp here. Take the shot straight away. Now this looks like a really good bit of spearfishing, but look towards the top of your screen now and you'll probably see the other bass. You see it just have slunk off. This looked like a really slick bit of spearfishing, that perfect headshot there, but really I just missed out on a 7 or 8 pound fish. Now over these sand patches the bass do tend to be very calm. Now one thing I noticed in this session was the water was significantly warmer over the sand patches than it was on the rest of the area, and I think the bass, once they've fed, they sit on the sand and the warmer temperatures help them digest the food. Now I saw a few bass in this gully, very difficult top down shot. I can hardly see these bass at all through the kelp, so almost got to guess where they are and predictably miss out on this one. Now this is a really, really good clip here. You can see just how long you've got to shoot one of these bass. There's no rush at all. Now these aren't particularly big fish. Right, these are somewhere between 45 and 55 centimeters, the shootable fish. The big ones do tend to spook a bit faster than the average ones like this, but generally you've got a lot of time. And of course, if you do see fish like this, often there'll be a much bigger fish hiding under the kelp that you can't quite see yet. So best to wait, have a look around the area, see if you can see any bigger fish than this. And if you can't, well, maybe take one of these. But you've got a lot of time in these kind of conditions, especially at low tide. At low tide, or in the last 2 hours of the ebb, this is when I tend to find the bass sit in areas like this. And this is a classic area here. You almost always find bass in places like this. They're so often here. You can just see a few just got spook out there. These kelpy gullies, there's a bit of cover overhead, and you just drift over these really slowly and wait. And you'll see again here another sand patch. I don't know why they like the sand so much. You find it on deeper reefs as well. When I was spearfishing at Talon Bay last year, my friend Bobby Burns shot a couple of very nice bass on the sand at about 12 meters. So he was stalking in the aguato style like that. Had some very, very good fish there. But they do seem to like the sand. And moving on now to my second bass of the session. You can see just drifting over this boulder here into another classic sand gully. Now I see a small bass pretty much straight away, but there's a slightly bigger one to the left of it. And again, just wait my time, bide that time, check if there's any bigger fish about, little look left and right. There's not, so I take the shot. This is a fairly nice fish, not massive, maybe about 4 pounds or so. Now, after shooting 2 bass, I moved to a deeper section of the mark, and there were stacks of fish there. There's some absolutely superb diving here. Nothing massive, but plenty of bass, plenty of shootable bass here, up to about 55 centimeters or so, and loads of pollock. And I just had the feeling that there might be a big pollock around. So you hear a tiny bass, don't shoot those. There's just wall after wall of pollock, and all of these are about 20 centimeters. I was really hoping to get something a bit bigger, really. But sometimes you've got to keep on diving and just have faith that there is a shootable fish in the area. Anglesey is not known for its large pollock. In fact, I've had almost no large pollock of Anglesey, despite trying for them quite a lot. It's well known for bass and plaice. But it's these kind of marks where there's a steep drop off onto flat sand where you do tend to find those larger pollock. And after about 10 dives, I had started to see a few just hanging at the back of the shoals. And right at the end of the session, I dropped in and a big pollock cruised in straight away. Now, often you see these clips in isolation and it makes hunting pollock look ridiculously easy, because often you just drop down and they swim straight onto the end of the gun like this. A pretty nice fish there of probably just under 60 centimetres, not massive, but a pretty nice fish, especially for that area. I'm pretty pleased to get it actually. You don't see many like that. Now, having shot a big pollock, I was hopeful of seeing some more. I dropped down again, but it was just wall after wall of small fish like this. Sometimes having a fish on the end of the gun can help entice a bigger fish to come in, but of course equally it makes tracking onto any big fish very difficult, and I soon switched to looking for some lobsters. Now, this area has zero lobster potting activity because it's just too far from the nearest port, and myself and Bobby found some fantastic lobsters in this dive session. Really, really impressive lobsters, and you don't often see lobsters like this. This is not as big as the one Bobby had as well. Now obviously I've just spooked this one, but lobsters do tire quite quickly. There's all fast twitch muscle in the tail, so I'm just waiting for this one to go static and go back up to the top. Now, the point I was going to make is in areas that are heavily potted, you get almost no lobsters that are significantly above the minimum size, because the moment they get to size, they just get caught and sold. But areas without potting, like the Republic of Ireland, where there's more remote marks, then you do tend to get more big lobsters. You can see my technique for catching them there, just trapping them under the gun. You'll see this again shortly in another clip, but I found this a very effective way to catch lobsters when maybe you're spearfishing for fish and you don't want to drop your gun somewhere. I often don't spear with a float, so I don't really want to drop my gun in case I lose it. Now, a slightly deeper section of the reef, I was actually looking for flatfish here, hoping for a turbot or a big plaice, and I came across this lobster just walking along the bottom. Another good lobster. This is not as big as the last one, but it was a pretty nice lobster. I'm just waiting for this to tire a bit, and then I trap it under the gun and pull it out. Now, there's a slightly bad drills with the gun there. You saw me live muzzle my hand, so obviously be very careful of that when you're spearfishing yourself. So a mistake I made there could easily have resulted in me getting shot. So always be careful of where your spear gun's pointing. But it was another nice lobster, but didn't have a catch bag in this session, so just dropped this one back in and let it go to fight another day. Now, Bobby's lobster was absolutely monstrous. It's the biggest one I've seen caught. This is an absolute beast. Look at the size of that crusher claw compared to his hand. He's about 5'11", so this is a big lobster. It's worth just showing a few different clips of it. He just found this wandering around on the sand, which just goes to show how good these areas that aren't getting potted very much are for crustaceans. Look at him on his fins, it's an absolute beast. And you can see Bobby's catch here now, a couple of nice bass and a lobster, and my catch here, big pollock and two pretty decent bass there. Now, the walk out from this mark was horrendous. I was in an 8mm polo sub on this dive with 13 kilograms of lead. I get cold fast, so I wear a thick suit, and I was absolutely exhausted. Pretty much went down with heat exhaustion, climbing over these fences, through the bracken, the gorse, the brambles. We got surrounded by cows at the end and had to make a quick getaway. You see I was baking hot, so I took my wetsuit top off and just drove. Now, the next video is going to be about stalking bass in extreme shallow water. I'll shoot multiple 7-pound plus bass in this session. Give you loads and loads of good tips about how I've been shooting lots of big bass this year in the shallows. This will be another very, very good video. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure you don't miss out on the next video. Subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, drop me a comment, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope the tips that I'm giving in these videos will help you shoot more fish in your own spearfishing sessions. And otherwise, enjoy your diving. I'll see you in the next video.